Hello Internet, and welcome back to my reviews of the Fantastic Four films. Last time we covered Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and now we've made it to the absolute worst movie I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. 2015's Fantastic Four, or Fanforstic, or as I like to call it, Fan Fuck Up 4. This movie is so awful that I chose a special background song to use in this video. The iconic song that is associated with Sephiroth, because it's one of the most intense and iconic boss fight themes in gaming. I was not ready to watch this movie again. It broke my soul, my spirit, and my sanity when I first saw it in 2015. And I can easily say that my soul, spirit, and sanity are beyond shattered right now. That's why I'm currently at my local church, in my blue Sonic bathrobe, with a full bottle of Jack Daniels in my possession. I chose a church because it's a perfect place to cleanse anyone's soul, spirit, and sanity. But anyway, let's get this show on the fucking road. Released on August 7th, 2015, Fan Fuck Up 4 is directed by Josh Trank, director of Chronicle in 2012. And get this! Josh Trank hated his own movie because of studio interference and the fact that production was a living nightmare. This movie stars Miles Teller as Reed Richards, or Mr. Fantastic. Miles Teller's other acting credits include Whiplash, in which he played drums like his life depended on it, with J.K. Simmons as an abusive college music instructor. There's the Divergent films, Top Gun Maverick, and the Apple TV Plus film The Gorge along with Anya Taylor-Joy. There's Kate Mara as Sue Storm, or Invisible Woman, Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, or The Thing, and Michael B. Jordan as a painfully miscast Johnny Storm, or Human Torch. Oh come on, Michael B! You've got a bright future ahead of you! Movies like Creed, Black Panther, and my favorite movie of 2025 so far, Sinners. Why'd you have to start at rock bottom? In this movie, Sue and Johnny are adoptive siblings. Excuse me, what? In the comics, as well as the 2005 film and the Fantastic Four First Steps, they're biological siblings. They're not fucking Thor and Loki for fuck's sake! There's Toby Kebbell as Victor Von Doom, or Dr. Doom. Probably the worst, most hideous looking Dr. Doom we've ever gotten. Which makes Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal 5 times better by default. There's Reggie Cathy as Dr. Franklin Storm, father of Johnny and Sue, who was inserted into this movie for no fucking reason. And speaking of being inserted into this movie for no fucking reason, Tim Blake Nelson, whose first failure in a Marvel movie came way before he botched the role of the leader in Captain America Brave New World. But seriously, watching this movie again, to me, is like being forced to watch Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter back to back, while also listening to Ludwig van Beethoven on loudspeakers, all while they're pumping drugs in you and clamping your eyes open. I just described what happened to Alex DeLarge in A Clockwork Orange. That's how agonizing this experience was. And watching this movie was more painful than the time I had to torture myself with Dark Phoenix last year. I'm gonna spoil the movie for you guys, and spare you the agony of sitting through the demon love child of Green Lantern, Batman and Robin, and The Last Airbender. But anyway, let's get started before I lose my fucking shit, as if I haven't already. Bottoms up. And I want to thank Sonicpool for supplying me with this nice strong bottle of Jack Daniels. You're gonna fucking need it, David! And I'm praying for your sanity. Not only myself, but Deadpool and Wolverine too. Alright, here goes nothing. Here's the 2015 version of Fantastic Four. Wish me luck. That's exactly what it feels like to go into a screening of this movie. It's like being reaped into the Hunger Games, knowing that you're not likely to make it out alive, or with your sanity intact. But anyway, happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in my favor. The movie opens up with the F in 20th Century Fox being highlighted for some fucking reason, like the X being highlighted in the X-Men movies, followed by a scene where the voice of Homer Simpson plays Reed Richards' school teacher for some odd reason. And I'm just gonna say right now that the cast put zero effort into their performances. Even the kid playing young Reed Richards sounds like he's reading his lines off of a fucking teleprompter instead of memorizing the screenplay. And as to where Ben Grimm got its clobbering time from, he got it from his abusive brother. Wow! Imagine if in Gone with the Wind, Clark Gable got "frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn" from his alcoholic parents when describing the F's on his report card. And instead of punishing him by sending him to his room and grounding him, they just take him out for ice cream. It just makes absolutely zero sense. Reed Richards and Ben Grimm are childhood friends who went to school together, and they work on a teleporter that teleports matter from one dimension to another. Of course, the teacher played by Homer Simpson is a naysayer, and so is everyone else at the science fair later on. And for some fucking reason, Reed uses a bunch of Nintendo 64s for this to work. Really? Are you fucking serious? What if a kid on your street wants to play GoldenEye with his classmates? Or speedrun Ocarina of Time before school starts up again on Monday? Did he spend all his life savings on a bunch of N64s just for one fucking science experiment? Also, I feel the four protagonists in this movie are way too young to be in those roles. I mean, Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan have great futures ahead of them, but they're just way too young to play those roles. Same with Jamie Bell and Kate Mara. I feel that Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Evelyn Moss-Backrack, and Joseph Quinn are perfectly aged for their roles as the real Fantastic Four in the Fantastic Four First Steps. During my second and final time viewing this movie, I've decided that I've had more fun making fun of the movie than just watching it. Because Miles Teller's take on Reed Richards makes him look like Peter Parker down to the glasses. And Jamie Bell looks like Tom Holland if he had big ears. And one could easily confuse Kate Mara with Erin Moriarty, that's known for playing Starlight in The Boys. And Toby Kebbell is a fucking joke. He's not Victor Von Doom, and he never will be. He's a computer technician and a computer scientist who plays Assassin's Creed in the very first scene he's in. And I'm not going to refer to the characters by their names, because they are not the Fantastic Four, and they never will be. So, 7 years after the opening scene, Andrew Neiman and bootleg Tom Holland are at a science fair where they grab the attention of Professor Franklin Storm and his daughter Dollar Store Starlight. Despite what Homer Simpson says, Franklin is impressed and recruits Andrew Neiman to join the Baxter Foundation. And there's a scene where Andrew Neiman and Dollar Store Starlight bond over the classic Jules Verne book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Especially when Dollar Store Starlight refers to Andrew Neiman as Captain Nemo. Andrew Neiman aids Dollar Store Starlight and Killmonger into completing a quantum gate designed by Toby Kebbell. Their first test involves sending a chimpanzee into an alternate dimension, and the experiment proves successful. And you want to know what my biggest issue with this movie is? It's so fucking boring to sit through! There are so many scenes where characters are just talking in dark rooms, not doing anything. No comedy, no fight scenes until the very end, nothing! And this calls for another sip of Jack Daniels. And I say that Michael B. Jordan was painfully miscast as Human Torch, not because of his race, but the fact that he's just chill, unlike Chris Evans who was a hothead. So they botched Johnny Storm's personality without even trying. In fact, every single character in this movie is painfully miscast. And Dollar Store Starlight's hair changes a lot in scenes. In some scenes, she's wearing a wig, and in other scenes, it's her natural hair because Kate Mara is a brunette in real life, while Sue Storm is blonde. Now that I found incredibly distracting. After the experiment proved successful, Tim Blake Nelson plans to send a group of astronauts from NASA to a parallel dimension known as Planet Zero. But Andrew Neiman is denied the chance to join the expedition. So he calls bootleg Tom Holland late at night to join him, Killmonger, and Toby Kebbell on this expedition. They then make it all the way to Planet Zero, with Dollar Store Starlight staying behind to cover them. And they discover that the planet is full of otherworldly substances. And as Toby Kebbell tries to collect one of the samples of one of the substances, things quickly go tits up as the ground starts to erupt in a scene that looks like it was shot on a computer screen, rather than on a soundstage. And as they leg it back to the pod, Toby Kebbell seemingly falls to his death while the others escape. And as they get back, the quantum gate explodes, and the genetics of the four protagonists are altered, giving them their signature abilities. And what ensues is what I can best describe as a body horror scene that nobody fucking asked for. If I wanted to see horror elements in a superhero movie, I'd hire Sam Raimi, not fucking Josh Trank. I mean, come on! It's supposed to be Fantastic Four, not fucking Alien or the New Mutants. Just because 20th Century Fox owned the rights to the Fantastic Four at the time, doesn't mean they get to borrow concepts from other Fox franchises like Alien. Okay, I need a drink. Whew, okay, that's much better. The four are placed in government custody so they can be studied and tested, and the special effects in this movie are abysmal. The effects in this movie make the 2005 Fantastic Four look like James Cameron's Avatar by comparison. And I don't know what's worse, the effects in this movie or the entirety of the flush. There! I fucking said it! And so, Andrew Neiman blames himself for the accident that gave him and the other three their powers, and he escapes from the facility and tries to find a cure. And then, we cut to the most unnecessary time skip since Avengers Endgame, where they cut to precisely 1 year later. Out of all the designs we've gotten for the Thing in movies, Jamie Bell's is the absolute fucking worst. He doesn't even wear pants, and we can clearly see his private parts. And for some fucking reason, Andrew Neiman can use his elastic powers to alter his face while he's on the run. And Dollar Store Starlight can levitate as if she was Silver the Hedgehog. Wow, way to throw me under the bus with that one, David! Haha, Silver got compared to one of the Fan-Fuck-Up 4! Fuck off, Shadow! And since bootleg Tom Holland is now transformed into Korg from Thor Ragnarok, he's been used as a military asset, along with Dollar Store Starlight and Killmonger. Andrew Neiman is hiding out in Central America, till he is discovered by the rest of the Fan-Fuck-Up 4. All because Dollar Store Starlight looked on the computer and saw Captain Nemo on it, since they bonded over 20,000 leagues under the sea. What ensues is one of 2 fight scenes in a movie consisting mostly of scenes where characters are talking in dark rooms. Oh god, even the fight scenes are boring and an eyesore to watch. I've seen better live-action fight scenes involving a young man with stretching powers in Netflix's live-action One Piece series. In fact, I was half expecting Andrew Neiman to say Gama Gam Pistol or Gam Gam Gatling, or shift into 2nd gear or 3rd gear or vice fucking versa. Killmonger and Dollar Store Starlight are given special suits that allow them to control their abilities, as if they were created by Edna Mode, and Andrew Neiman is given one too when he returns to Area 57. Tim Blake Nelson conscripts Andrew Neiman to rebuild the Quantum Gate to return to Planet Zero, in exchange for the resources and finding a cure for the Fan-Fuck-Up 4. And upon returning to Planet Zero, Tim Blake Nelson's explorers find Toby Kebbell alive and well, who is fused with his spacesuit, giving him what I can best describe as the absolute worst Doctor Doom suit I've ever seen on screen. It's like a fusion of Paul Atreides from Dune and Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. And what such power he has is causing people's heads to explode as if he were Victoria Newman from The Boys, complete with blood splatter in a PG-13 movie, mind you. That scene alone should have given this movie an R rating. You really think younger audiences would like seeing exploding heads and blood splatter on the walls? It's not like these dipshits are looking into the fucking Ark of the Covenant, complete with melting faces and exploding heads. Okay, I need another drink before pushing this movie not getting an R rating any further. Holy crap, I'm almost finished with that bottle. I'm starting to feel a little dizzy, but that is expected when you're drinking an entire bottle of Jack Daniels in under an hour. So let's wrap this up as best as we can. Paul Voorhees, a fusion of Paul Atreides and Jason Voorhees because that's what the sumbitch looks like, has gone completely mental during his full year exiled on Planet Zero, and believes Earth needs to be destroyed since Planet Zero is his new home, and to protect it from further invasions. He kills Tim Blake Nelson before he could get a chance to botch the shit out of the leader in Captain America Brave New World, as well as Dollar Store Starlight and Killmonger's father. A death scene I feel no sympathy for because this movie is fucking horrible! And so, the Fan-Fuck-Up 4 then head to Planet Zero for one final confrontation against Paul Voorhees. He activates a sky portal in the likes of the Avengers and Suicide Squad. Wow! I never thought I could compare Fan-Fuck-Up 4 to fucking Suicide Squad. Just like how Suicide Squad was DC at its worst, Fan-Fuck-Up 4 is practically Fox Marvel at its worst, before Dark Phoenix. And this final fight sequence is just bleak, boring, and just a huge fucking eyesore to look at. Complete with acting so bad that you can tell the actors didn't want to be there. That production was a living nightmare. Even more so than when Joss Whedon took over production of Justice League after Zack Snyder's daughter took her own life. And Korg even says it's clobbering time because he got it from his abusive brother, which I find to be straight up fucking dumb! And after this eyesore of a final battle, Korg punches Paul Voorhees into the skybeam, disintegrating the sumbitch. Good fucking riddance! This is why Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Doctor Doom will be 5 times better by default. Because just like every other character in this fucking movie, Doctor Doom was more painfully miscast than Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor and Jared Leto as the Joker. There! I fucking said it! And so the day is saved and the Fan-Fuck-Up 4 return to Earth. They're rewarded by the US military for their heroic deeds, and are given their own base of operations, just like the Avengers at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron. A film released 3 months prior, and was a much better film than this. And the Four decide to use their powers to protect mankind. Then the movie cuts off before they can call themselves the Fantastic Four. And that's it! That's the end of the fucking movie! God! This movie is the absolute worst piece of shit movie I've seen in my entire life. And now, my soul, spirit, and sanity are just as equally crushed as when I first saw it in the theater back in 2015. And before I give my final thoughts, I'm gonna finish this nice bottle of Jack Daniels. Alright, here we go. My final thoughts. It should come to no surprise what my score for Fan-Fuck-Up 4 is. It's not a 3, it's not a 2, it's not even a 1. It's a fucking 0 out of 10. This is the lowest score I have ever given a movie. Lower than the Ghostbusters reboot that doesn't exist, and lower than Dark Phoenix. That's how awful this movie is. It's enough to break anyone's soul, spirit, and sanity. Why people who torture themselves with this movie should immediately go to church afterwards. This movie was dull, pretentious, way too violent for a PG-13 movie. It was just too dark and gloomy, compared to the colorful 1960s setting we're about to get with the Fantastic Four First Steps. The real Fantastic Four at that. A sequel to this dumpster fire was planned, but it was ultimately cancelled due to this movie's ultimate fucking failure. And the rights were sold to Marvel Studios, where we got an appearance from John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Chris Evans making a comeback as Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as the Fantastic Four First Steps and Avengers Doomsday. This dumpster fire was given multiple Golden Raspberry Awards, like Worst Picture, Worst Director, and Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. And after torturing myself with this movie once more, I can gladly say it deserves all 3 of them! Everything about this movie is just awful! The cast was awful, the effects were awful, production was a living nightmare, and it destroyed Josh Trank's directing career. Even he hated how his own movie turned out due to studio interference. The same kind that made Suicide Squad and Justice League the dumpster fires they turned out to be. This movie makes The Flush and Madam Web look like Citizen Kane by comparison. That's how awful this movie is. My advice? Stay the fuck away from this movie if you know it's good for your soul, spirit, and sanity. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna find something pleasant to watch while dealing with a massive hangover. With that said, stay tuned for my upcoming review of Aquaman coming soon, as well as the live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon and the Fantastic Four First Steps coming next month. Until then, I'll see you all next time.